Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
He's not just the best player in this conference, he's the best player in the country. And I don't, if you sit down and watch all 13 games, I don't know how you can argue with that. Sure, I'm glad he's on our team.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network, coming to you from Myrtle Beach, side of the Touchstone Energy North-South All-Star Football game coming up on Saturday. We'll give you a chance tonight to win 2 more tickets to the All-Star game, which is going to be a dandy. Got a chance to watch practice this afternoon. The weather is getting better by the day, and we're going to have a great forecast for great football on Saturday afternoon. Don't forget, we'll broadcast the game on our stations around the beginning at noon on Saturday. Kickoff will be at 12:30. We've got some gunslingers on both sides of the field. We've got some very good receivers and running backs, and the offense is set up where you have to run the spread. You got to throw it around, and I think the weather conditions are going to be just perfect for good offensive football. Put the defensive guys on their heels a little bit. Phil Kornbluth here, K-Mac, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, the state man Graham Pope back at our studios in Columbia. That was Dabo Sweeney opening us up tonight, talking about Deshaun Watson, who'll be making his way to New York later this week. Guys, I saw I guess it was sort of I don't know if it was a poll or what it was, but anyway, it had Watson ranked 3rd among the Heisman contenders, with Henry 2nd and McCaffrey 1st. I don't know if somebody had somehow managed to take a poll of voters across the country to get their actual votes, or if it was just opinions. But anyway, looks like, and you kind of knew going in it was going to be for Watson to win the thing, simply because there's so many more voters in other parts of the country that might support those other 2 candidates.
I think it's every publication I've seen, I don't know, poll or not, has Henry perhaps running away with this thing. And that's what I suspect will happen, Corn. I think Watson should be the number 2. I think Watson, really, you can make a strong case. Nobody means more to his team in college football than Deshaun Watson does to Clemson. Henry is a great running back. They feed him the ball all the time. He has a great line in front of him, and you got to think Alabama has another guy on their roster that they could hand the ball to and run the ball with a semblance of effectiveness. But if Deshaun Watson, you take him out of that Clemson offense and you put in anybody else on their roster, Clemson is not 13-0. They are not in the college football playoff. That's how important he is.
Well, I would venture to tell you that I think all 3 guys. I haven't seen a group of Heisman hopefuls that are the most valuable players on any of their teams. I've seen all 3 teams at least 3 or 4 times, and if you take any 3 of those guys off their teams, Stanford wouldn't be as good as they are. Neither would Alabama. Neither would Clemson.
Yeah, excellent point. Got a great show for you tonight. Coverage from here, more high school talk, and of course we'll look ahead to the Heisman and the playoffs.
Keep up with sports news all day on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Now back to Sports Talk with Korn, K-Mac, and the Pro.
All right, plenty of time for some calls here tonight as we get things rolling. We'll hear from Dr. Dean Boyd, head coach of the South All-Stars. Watching them today. We'll focus on the North tomorrow, but was over on the South side today. Avery McCall, Drayton Arnold, the two quarterbacks, they look good. I got some very good receivers.
All right, looks like Korn's line has gone away, so we will check back with him momentarily. He's down at Myrtle Beach where he'll be all week getting ready for the North-South All-Star football game, which it's a little strange, not the North-South All-Star football game, but to have that going on and also state championships still to be decided. And we're going to continue to preview the remaining state championships as we move throughout the week as well. Let's go ahead and set the table for you here. 800-956-7266, toll-free call for you. And you can also drop us an email, talkback@sportstalksc.com. On the coaching front, the coaching hire front in terms of a staff for Will Muschamp, they are continuing to put things together, and it's kind of trickling out. I've found that the first place that these hires are taking place really are on Twitter. I thought Bobby Bentley changed his Twitter bio to running backs coach at USC, and I knew then, well, this guy's probably going to be the running backs coach. And sure enough, this afternoon, USC released that he is the running backs coach. Last night, or actually maybe early this morning, Tavares Robinson from Auburn changed his profile to a South Carolina background, and that he was the defensive coordinator. And now T-Rob, as they call him, is officially been announced as the defensive coordinator at South Carolina. Sean Elliott is out recruiting with Muschamp. That's happening. I saw another picture at Greer High School, I believe. One of their stops, they were at Spartanburg High School at one point. So Sean Elliott is expected to be retained as well as the offensive line coach.
Yeah, and I guess that means that's going to retain all the offensive linemen commit that they already have. I think they have 4 coming up. When you talk about Bobby Bentley, I'm trying to think of the last time a former high school coach and a former college coach has moved in to be an assistant at South Carolina.
Man, he's going to be out recruiting as we get Korn back on the line with us. And Korn, another big thing with Bentley, he's recruiting, but I bet you there's some people calling him to recruit one Jake Bentley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right now Stanford is his favorite school, and South Carolina had not been on his list. Obviously, that will change. He's going to be a 2017 guy, so he'll be a senior next year, and got to decide, if he's going to make the move with the dad and everything to South Carolina and play his senior year at a high school in South Carolina. Sometimes in a case like this, you don't want to move your son, who's going to be a senior, take him away from his team and his friends, and you arrange for a way for him to stay put. So I don't know exactly what Bobby has got in mind yet for Jake, but he's a good player, highly regarded quarterback. Had a knee issue in the past. I think he's had knee surgery and some work on the knee. Don't know if that's affected his mobility and all that. He's a big kid. He's not he's not that spread quarterback, I don't believe, that runs the football. I think he's in the pocket, about 6'3", 6'4" type of quarterback. More like, I would say, just watching him a little bit on film and just looking at the size, more like a Mason Rudolph type of quarterback, likes to stay in the pocket and throw the football. So and we'll see what happens with that. And I don't know if you mentioned anything about the staff today at South Carolina. Did you mention anything about that?
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah. Did you mention Ellis Johnson?
Did not mention Ellis Johnson. Just mention the official hires, the guys that we know are on staff. I didn't get into the guys that could be on staff.
So we know on staff right now are Robinson as defensive coordinator and Bentley at wide receiver.
Running backs coach, I think he's being named.
I'm sorry, running backs coach, right. And Roper have they announced Roper as the offensive coordinator?
Have not announced Roper.
Yeah.
Not yet, but I read somewhere where, he can be released or walk away from the Browns anytime he gets ready.
Well, what I was told today, a couple of things. In that case, from what I was told, there's still some kind of a situation with his old contract at Florida that might delay him being able to start at South Carolina, because if he wants to get the rest of his payments from Florida, what they owe him, maybe he's restricted in taking another college job until a certain date. I haven't seen the contract. This is just what I was told by somebody who would have some idea about it. And as far as Ellis Johnson goes, what I'm hearing there is it's still in the works. It is something that he is willing to do, even if it doesn't mean a title for him, like a coordinator. It's a situation where if they can figure out something he can do that is beneficial to the coaching staff and to the program, and it kind of fits what he wants to do at this stage of his coaching life, and everybody can come to terms with it, then that could happen. But it hasn't happened yet. That is still a fluid situation and something in the works. So he is busy, as you mentioned. He's busy. Muschamp is busy going around the state, making calls on schools, talking to prospects. He offered Samuel Denmark today, the Shrine Bowl wide receiver from Hanahan. I just talked to him during the break, and he is still committed to Virginia Tech. Nothing has changed there, but he will look at South Carolina a little bit here moving forward. But he does have the Shrine Bowl coming up. He has a report for the Shrine Bowl on Saturday. They're trying to get him in for a visit this weekend, but he's not sure if he can make that happen with the Shrine Bowl coming up on Saturday. And he is an early grad, so his window of opportunity is starting to close down. We'll do a complete recruiting update coming up in a little bit. Let me give you the number, 800-956-7266. Our email, talkback@sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. Sports Talk is presented by Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan. Future Scholar is the smart and easy way to save for a loved one's future college costs, and the holidays are a perfect time to invest. Visit futurescholar.com for more information. Future Scholar is administered by the Office of State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Coming up, as I mentioned, I think before my line dropped, Dean Boyd, head coach of the South. We'll hear from him. I was watching the South today. I was saying Avery McCall and Drayton Arnold, two good-looking quarterbacks on the South team. And the North is coached by Ken Schofield from Great Falls. So we'll check them out tomorrow. Logan Bailey and Elijah Turner are the two quarterbacks over there. So we'll hear from Coach Boyd. At 7:30, we're going to preview the 4A Division I championship game. Dave Gutshaw from Dorman and Steve LaPrade from Fort Dorchester. We will talk to those two at 7:30. At 7:45 tonight, we're going to talk about one of the upcoming holiday tournaments in high school basketball in the States, the Bojangles Bash coming up in Columbia, and give you some details on that. So we got a busy show for you tonight here on Sports Talk. Let's go ahead and jump to the phones and hear what's on your mind tonight. Continue to talk about Muschamp, talk about Clemson and Oklahoma and the playoff, talk about Deshaun Watson and the Heisman, talk about the North-South All-Star game and some of the terrific players here. All that and more tonight here on Sports Talk as we go to North Augusta, and we welcome Alan into the program. Alan, good evening. How are you?
I want to talk about Deshaun Watson for Heisman.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Naturally, I'm a fan, but it's hard for me to understand why he wouldn't be chosen, because he is the best player in college football. He's definitely the best quarterback. I don't see how you could. I think if anybody started a team, I don't see how you could say, well, if you have one person to build your team around, why you wouldn't say Deshaun Watson will be that guy. I know Derrick Henry's a good back. There's no doubt about that. But I don't even think he's the best running back in college football. I think Dalvin Cook averages 2 more yards per carry. And the kid at LSU is good. I mean, there's plenty of good running backs. He just gives him the ball a lot, because I don't think they have a very good passing game, just my opinion. And they got a great offensive line to run behind, no doubt. But I just think, the only person that touches the ball every play is the quarterback. So he's reading defenses. He's making his checks and calling. He's running an offense. These other guys are just being handed the ball.
Hang on, Alan. We've got to hit a break here, and we'll come back and discuss what you're bringing up in just a moment. More Sports Talk right after this. Sports Talk on a Tuesday night from our broadcast center at the Landmark Resort in Myrtle Beach. Broadcast Center. I like that. Studio 17Z of our broadcast center at the Landmark Resort. Covering the North-South game coming up on Saturday at noon. Hey, whether you're a USC fan or a Clemson fan, all South Carolina college football fans can agree on Founders Federal Credit Union with a convenient location already on USC's campus and a Clemson office coming soon. Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. All right, you go back to the Heisman thing, and yes, you can look at the stats, and each of the three nationally is at the top of a respective category. Deshaun Watson is one of the leaders in the country in total offense. McCaffrey is one of the leaders in the country, if not the leader, in all-purpose yards. And Derrick Henry was the leader, I believe, in rushing yards. So each one of them was outstanding in a particular category. I like Watson because as a voter, I'm influenced by what I see. And I saw him more than the other two combined, as any voter would be. West Coast voters, those who cover Stanford quite a bit, they're going to be influenced because they saw McCaffrey more. Around the SEC, they're going to be voters more influenced to vote for Henry because they saw him more. They all have their outstanding stats and their great traits. In today's football, in my opinion, you cannot win without a great quarterback. And Clemson is the only 13-0 team in the country, and the primary reason is because of Deshaun Watson. Take him out of that offense, and they're pretty much just an above-average football team. He takes them to that next level. I'm not saying that Derrick Henry's not a great running back, but I think at Alabama, behind that offensive line, you could take another running back, put him back there, and still win a lot of football games and still be very productive. I don't think Clemson's 13-0 or even close to 13-0 without Derek Watson. Best player on the best team in the country, in my mind, deserves a Heisman.
Derek Watson.
I will tell you this.
Deshaun Watson.
There may be.
Did I say Derek Watson?
If they had Derek Watson, they'd have a whole nother slew of problems right now.
No, I will say.
You know what I'm talking about.
I will say this. Whoever runs behind that offensive line, I don't know if they can carry it 40 times like Henry does. I mean, you're talking about a wrecking ball.
Well, should you be giving the ball to a guy 40 times?
Well, I wouldn't, but he seems to take it, and it's the defense that crumbles, not him. As I said before, early in the campaign, that one of the things that would help Clemson in any awards they receive is the fact of what did you do if you journeyed outside your footprint. Had it happened later, maybe it helps Watson. Maybe it still does. As I said before, if he's going to siphon off votes from any other region of the country, it would be the Midwest where they knocked off Notre Dame. I don't know how fresh that game is in their minds, but if Watson would take the Heisman, he would have to siphon votes, in my opinion, out of the Midwest in order to win it.
Yeah, he's going to have to get some support from other regions, no doubt about it. All right, more calls coming up. Dial us up, 800-956-7266, Sports Talk.
These guys, they never sleep. Check them out on the web at SportsTalkSC.com. Now, more of Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
We are back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. And on Twitter, make sure you sign up to follow us on Twitter. Twitter address is at SportsTalkSC. Follow us on the web. Our website, sportstalksc.com. And on Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network is where you can go and like us there and follow our stuff there. Phil Kornblut in Myrtle Beach here for the North-South game. K-Mac and the Pro back in Columbia. Let's continue with your phone calls. We go to Dean in Gaffney. I'm sorry, Randy in Gaffney. Where did I get Dean from? Oh, you mentioned Dean to me earlier. No, Dean Boyd. We've got Dean Boyd coming up later. Randy in Gaffney. Hello, sir. Welcome into Sports Talk.
How y'all doing tonight?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. I also heard today that USC is getting a new strength and conditioning coach, and I was wanting to know if y'all could confirm that. And if that's true, it really doesn't surprise me because especially it was so obvious in the Citadel game that we were being pushed around a little bit on both sides of the ball, and those Citadel guys were strong, and it just looked like they were just pushing us around way too much, and it looks like the last couple of years we've had a drop off in our offense and defensive lines. So I'll sit back and let you tell me what you think.
Okay, K-Mac, I think there was some news today about a change in the strength department.
I think the strength and conditioning coach will not return, and probably you're looking at the assistant strength and conditioning coach at Alabama, who I think worked with Muschamp, K-Mac, in Florida, will be the I'll try to check the name, but I think that's probably the news we're hearing right now.
Yeah, that was the Big Spur. John Whittle had a story earlier today that Craig Fitzgerald would not be back as the strength coach because, just Muschamp wants to get his own guy in there. And also there's J.C. Sherbert has reported that all of the staff members in individual meetings were informed that they would not be retained with the exception of Sean Elliott. As Korn mentioned, Sean Elliott is still out recruiting and will have a chance to remain as long as everything goes well with Roper. But Sherbert also reporting Alabama assistant strength coach and conditioning coach Jeff Dillman is headed to South Carolina to be the next head strength and conditioning coach.
You know, it's so funny and it's so cyclical. And it's just the way it is. Remember just a few years ago at Clemson when they couldn't beat South Carolina, when the streak kind of started, and I can remember
Joey
the Clemson
Batson
fans saying, "Joey Batson, he's got to go." What are these exercises he's got? He's doing more of these. Was it pilates?
They're doing ropes.
Yeah, they're not. We're not. You know, we're getting pushed around. No.
Pilates,
now,
you're talking about
Pilates, yeah, whatever. And now, of course, you know, you can't hear enough about how well conditioned and strong and lean and fast the Clemson football players are. It's the same strength coach. It's the same strength and conditioning organization that they've had. Now, I will say I don't disagree with the caller. Watching especially the defensive front at South Carolina and looking at some of them, they didn't appear to be in great shape to me.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of stuff hanging over the belt. Now, that might be okay on K-Mac and Professor, but it doesn't work for football players, really. Now, some football players can carry the extra weight and it not slow them down or weaken them, but I didn't see that with South Carolina. I saw some guys that looked a little tubby out there to me, and it showed in the way they played.
Yeah, well, I think some of it, too, that just the guys they were recruiting, and I don't disagree, that they had a lot of smaller, pudgier-looking guys on their defensive line where you go back 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, getting off the bus, I had other coaches tell me this. College coaches say that looks like an NFL defensive line. I mean, we all remember Clowney, but he was not the only big, strong defensive lineman they had. They had Chaz Sutton and Devin Taylor. They had multiple guys.
Phil saw enough of Devin Taylor the other night at Detroit.
Face masking, but they don't have those kind of guys getting off the bus anymore. You look at them, and they do look a lot smaller. They don't look as well conditioned, and fair or not, that's going to fall onto the strength and conditioning coach. And it's not really a shock when a new coach comes in that he wants his own guy. Kirby Smart, I think, has taken the head strength and conditioning coach from Alabama, who is kind of a character in and of himself. Apparently plays out over the PA system before the games. So not a bad system to plug something from. And this gets back to the point with Muschamp, and I know there are still Gamecock fans that are lukewarm, or maybe even worse than that, they might be cold on Will Muschamp. But one thing that Will Muschamp that you're seeing here with these early hires that he's making, he was one of the few guys, Corn, that could bring this kind of staff in. Everybody that wanted Lincoln Riley, that would have been great. You would have had a nice up-and-coming coach, a Broyles finalist. But what kind of staff was he going to put together? Same with Tom Herman. What kind of staff was he going to be able to put together? Outside of Kirby Smart, there wasn't anybody that the Gamecocks talked to that has the connections and the respect around the SEC where you can go to Auburn and make a guy in Robinson that could have been the Auburn defensive coordinator and make him say, I'm going to go ahead and leave my alma mater and the University of Auburn and go coach defense at South Carolina. That's pretty big.
University of Auburn. Well, he perhaps sees the handwriting on the wall there that if Malzahn doesn't, get back and do something magical at Auburn, that they could be going through a transition. I think next year Malzahn in the West and Stoops in the East will be the two SEC head coaches on the hottest of the seats. Of course, the entire East is going to be practically brand new. How many returning head coaches are there in the East next year? You got Florida, you've got Kentucky, and you've got Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt, even though they showed some improvement this year, still didn't win a lot of games. You'd have to say he's shaky. Of course, out West, everything is pretty stable there, except for
I still say LSU.
I think everything is
to me.
Well, but he's back for next year.
Yeah. And the guys you mentioned in the East all have been there less than 5 years.
The East, too, next year, 5 of the 7 head coaches in the East will be defensive-oriented head coaches. The only offensive-minded head coaches in terms of their background will be McElwain at Florida and
Butch Jones.
And Butch Jones.
And he's coached defense too. He's done a little bit of both. He's not kind of the offensive innovator. It's a very defensive-minded conference right now in the Eastern Division.
That's why I'm saying, Coin, with the spread and everybody's turning every which way but loose, the premium now is on somebody that can devise a scheme or schemes to stop that.
That's exactly what Ray Tanner said. Everybody likes these spread, high-powered offenses. We also like people that know how to stop them.
All right, back to the phones we go, and it's Barry in Fort Mill with us next here on Sports Talk. Good evening, Barry. How are you?
Fine. How you doing tonight, Phil?
We're good. Good to have you with us.
I was just wanting to comment about what y'all were just speaking of just a moment ago about Muschamp. I was watching Paul Feinbaum yesterday afternoon, and a lot of people were calling in, and criticizing Muschamp and everything. And, I think it's rather premature for anybody to start making judgments against the guy before he's even had a chance or anything. And just another comment, Alabama and Florida, played last Saturday for the SEC championship. And I think Alabama's defense, if I recall the stats correctly, was out on the field for about 83 plays. And, I think being on the field that long, I think they did pretty well against Alabama team. They probably got the best offensive line in the country. And I don't know whether a lot of people realize or not, but Muschamp, recruited most of those guys and everything. They were his people and all.
Yeah, Muschamp left behind a really good defense at Florida, and McElwain benefited from that this year. I think that's one of the reasons he was able to get by with a so-so offense this year as he tries to build things on the offensive side. He found a good stable of defensive players waiting for him. Now, he's going to lose some of those players after this season, and we'll see what happens moving forward. Thanks for the phone call. Back in a moment. Hey, coming up on Saturday, of course, for Myrtle Beach is the 2015 Touchstone Energy Cooperative's North-South All-Star Game. You can see 88 of South Carolina's top high school football players as they go head-to-head for the title of the best North versus the South. Get your tickets now at northsouthallstarfootball.com. Dr. Dean Boyd, head coach at Marlboro County, is the coach of the South team. Had a chance to catch up with him after practice this afternoon. Coach, you've had a couple of days with your guys now. What do you think of them?
I like our squad. I like our kids. They're working hard. It's a good group of young men. We're smaller than the North, but I think we're quick, and they're picking up good on the stuff that we're doing, and they're having a good time at the game, and that's what it's really all about. You know, you want to win the game. There's no doubt about it, but you really want those kids to have a good time, and right now they're having a good time out here, and they're picking up each practice we go, it's a little bit better. So, and it's starting to get a little loose now. So they're starting to get to know one another and feel a little more comfortable. So it's about like coaching back at home now. You know, they know who to try and who not to try and that sort of thing. But we're real excited about it, and our kids they're working hard, and hopefully we'll go out and perform well.
When you have a quarterback like Avery McCall, who has such a great high school career behind him now and all the championships and the accolades, what do you try to do with him? Number one, to make him stand out individually, but also to mesh him in with the rest of the team.
Oh, we got Avery McCall and Drayton Arnold. I think we got two of the best quarterbacks in the state. Those kids, you get the good thing about Dylan and us is we run pretty much the same thing. Myrtle Beach, we don't run the same plays, but we run a lot of the same concepts. So those kids are picking up easily on what we do. And it's fun to be around them because they can do so many things, and they give you that wow factor. Every time you turn around, you see something happen, you think, how in the world did he do that? But both of those kids are great players, and we're glad to have them down here, and glad they're on our side and not the other side. But they got some good quarterbacks over there too. That Bailey kid over there is pretty good, and that Turner kid both's pretty good. So we got our work cut out for us, but that's what this game's about. It's about the kids getting out there and be able to showcase their talents. Everything's limited as far as what we can really do. Right. So it's all about the kids, and that's the way it ought to be.
You know, you coached a guy in high school by the name of Savell Newton. He was pretty good.
Yeah.
How do you compare these two to what you coached in high school with him?
It was very similar, very similar. I would say probably Savell and Avery are a lot more like as far as their personalities and their ability on the field. Drayton is more of a laid-back kid that's going to throw the ball and be precise. Those two make things happen with their feet. But it's very similar. They're all very, very good athletes and great players, and it's fun to be able to coach kids like that. It's fun to be able to go against, have Avery McCall and Drayton Arnold on my team for a change instead of going against them.
No doubt. The weather is great today. It's supposed to be great all week and like in the 70s on Saturday. So with good weather conditions, with these throwers and catchers and runners, from your standpoint, you think we're going to see an offensive explosion?
Well, it's hard to say. In a week's time, it's all about rhythm, you know, and offensive line play. And it's hard to say. Yesterday it was nasty out here, so we actually deserved to have good weather the rest of the week, because what we had to put up with yesterday morning was awful. But you know, if both teams' offenses get in a good rhythm, I think it could be. But I've seen both teams' defenses out here work out, and both of them are very, very good. Got some good players on it, so it's going to be interesting to see how it pops out and it works out. But we're excited about the opportunity. We feel like we got some good running backs and some good skilled kids, and I know they do too. Like I said, we scouted them out pretty good, so it's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out.
You guys offensively going to be a spread team?
Yeah, both teams have to be spread team by the rules of the game now. You're a one back. You can't go no back, and you can't go two back. So it's a one back spread thing, and pitch it around a little bit and have a little fun, spin that football and see what happens.
All right. How about being here and being a head coach of one of these all-star teams at this stage of your career?
Well, it's a tremendous honor, but it's an honor for all those people that played for me and the coaches that's coached for me more so than it is for me. You know, there's coaches in the state opportunity to do this and turn it down, and I can understand why, because it's a hard process and you don't want to take time away from your team. But the way I look at it is that you know, all those guys that played for us and helped us get all those wins, and all those coaches that's played for us, coached for us and helped us get those wins, this honor is as much for them as it is for me. I mean, it really is, because those guys, you know, I wouldn't be still at Marlboro or still at coaching if I didn't have tremendous help and tremendous support along the way. And so it's a great honor for me, but it's more so of an honor for over the period and the testimony of time with the guys that's helped me to get to here.
And we congratulate you and have a good week and look forward to following you throughout the week.
All right. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it.
Okay, Dean Boyd, head coach at Marlboro County, head coach of the South All-Stars, assisted by Tyrone Davis of Waccamaw, Eddie Ford of Allendale Fairfax, Bobby Marion from West Ashley, Marty McIntyre of Dillon, Jimmy Woods of Cross, and the scout is Randall Neely from Marlboro County. We're back in a moment with recruiting.
Back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
All right, to the recruiting report tonight. Of course, there's a lot of stuff happening, especially on the South Carolina side of things, because they're trying to catch up with the new coaching staff being put together, the new head coach in place. We begin with the Gamecocks going after a junior college defensive back, Jamarcus King, out of Coffeyville Junior College in Kansas. He was being recruited by Auburn with Muschamp and new defensive coordinator Travaris Robinson. Now they're recruiting him for South Carolina. He's from 8 Mile, Alabama. He'll take his official visit to USC this weekend. He's also taken official visits to Auburn, Baylor, and Arkansas. Not sure if he'll take a fifth. If he does, it'll be Miami. He's a mid-year graduate with 3 years to play 2. 37 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, and 10 passes defended this season. Meantime, defensive back J.J. Gibbons of Mechanicsville, Virginia, decommitted last night from USC, announcing it on Twitter. However, he's not dropped the Gamecocks. He said that he wants to have a chance to meet with Will Muschamp. He's expecting him in the end of this week. He also plans to take an unofficial to USC this weekend. He has not yet set his official visit. He was in for the Clemson game. He is still looking at Arizona State, Ole Miss, and Maryland for other official visits, and North Carolina is now getting in the mix with him as well. Last night, or yesterday afternoon, Muschamp went over to Richland Northeast to meet with linebacker T.J. Brunson. And Brunson said the meeting was cool. It was cool to be the first person to come in and be visited by Muschamp after his press conference. And he said that they like him a lot. They think he can play either in the 4-3, but they'll be doing a lot of 3-4 on defense. He is going to visit USC unofficially on Friday and then report to the Shrine Bowl in Spartanburg. His official visit is set for January 16th. And right now he's got USC and Louisville even on his list, though he is still committed to Louisville. USC coaches Muschamp and Elliott were at Hanahan today to talk to Samuel Denmark, wide receiver who's been committed to Virginia Tech. He's a Shrine Bowler. He told us a little while ago he's still committed to Virginia Tech, interested in what Muschamp had to say. Not sure he can visit this weekend because of the Shrine Bowl. USC commitment offensive lineman Lloyd Cushenberry has set an official to Mississippi State for January 22nd. Clemson was checking on 2017 running back Cordarian Richardson of Memphis on Monday. He rushed for over 2,000 yards this year. Speaking of T.J. Brunson, he was offered by Purdue today. Defensive back Isaiah Stallings of Fayetteville committed to NC State last night. USC and Clemson had both recruited him. Receiver DeAndre Overton of Greensboro took an official to NC State over the weekend, really enjoyed it. He is expecting Clemson, NC State, and Duke to visit him this week. No favorite. And Clemson offered 2017 receiver Amari Rogers of Knoxville on Monday, currently a Southern Cal commitment. Top of the hour break. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266 is the phone number. A couple of more recruiting notes to pass along to you that we didn't get to before the top of the hour. As USC coach Will Muschamp's been making the rounds across the state, he also visited with defensive back Troy Pride of Greer today. He's had an offer from the Gamecocks. He said it was nice. He's a great guy, he said of Muschamp. He said he did not know if he will visit this weekend. He's a former Virginia Tech commitment who decommitted back in November. Running back LeBron Morris of Ellenwood, Georgia, committed to South Carolina State today. Defensive end Darius Hutcherson of Huntington, Tennessee, has set a visit to Memphis for January 29th. He'll visit USC January 16th and Arizona State the following weekend. Couple of basketball notes. Brad Brownell at Clemson reportedly has offered 6'11" ninth grader Qudus Abulaji of Virginia Academy and 6'7" Chuba Ohams of Putnam Science Academy in Connecticut has USC, Providence, DePaul, and Rutgers on his list at this point. All right, there you go. We'll pass along any other recruiting stuff that we might see as we go through the rest of the show. I think USC coaches were also in to visit with Tavian Feaster today at Spartanburg High School, the Clemson commitment, longtime Clemson commitment. I think probably wasting their time
They
there.
ain't going to flip him.
Yeah, don't foresee that happening. But they're making their rounds, doing their due diligence, trying to get in front of people. The thing about Muschamp, though, well, two things with Muschamp and Elliott. Number one, Muschamp is no stranger. He's recruited this state before. He's, for example, he offered Brian Edwards. I was talking to Brian Edwards' coach today. Muschamp offered Brian Edwards back in the ninth grade. He was not the first to offer. USC and Clemson offered before that, but he's known Brian Edwards from that standpoint for a long, long time. And, of course, Sean Elliott is a very familiar face and welcomed coach around the high schools in South Carolina. So they're not having any trouble getting in to see people and get their quick message out. They're trying to get as many prospects to visit this weekend as possible before the recruiting dead period kicks in on Sunday.
With Edwards, he was committed to South Carolina, then he was injured, then he decommitted and has been looking hard at Clemson. What's the buzz out there now that a coach is in place? Is he still leaning towards Clemson, 50-50?
Well, from what his coach told me today, yes, there is a lean, but he didn't want to say where. But there is a lean, I can tell you that. And I said to him, does he want to play safety or does he want to play receiver? Which, of course, would give it away. And Chuck Jordan, as he pointed out to me, was born at night, but he wasn't born last night. So he wasn't going to tip his hand on that. So don't know where he is leaning, but there is a lean. Back in a moment. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Reminder, coming up Saturday, 2015 Touchstone Energy Cooperative's North-South All-Star Game. 88 of the state's best players on hand, including some very fine quarterbacks. You can see it all live and in person at Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium with kickoff at 12:30. Get your tickets now at northsouthallstarfootball.com. We'll give you a chance right now to win a couple of tickets if you can answer tonight's North-South trivia question. 800-956-7266 is the number. And if you know the answer, call the number. Give the state man your answer. He'll let you know if you are correct. First one in with the correct answer wins 2 tickets, and we will leave the tickets for you at the will call window at Doug Shaw Memorial Stadium. Here is our question. What former very famous state politician, very powerful state politician, a former, I think he was a state senator, maybe even a U.S. senator, ran for governor. Anyway, he was the MVP of the game in 1956. I'll give you one more hint. He came from the Low Country. 1956. Famous politician.
Well, let me put it this way. I don't think
named after a dog.
I don't think he ever won office. I think he ran for governor, ran for senator, and lost both times.
Okay. He never won.
I don't think he ever won. No.
But he ran for it. But he was a very powerful individual, as I recall. Influential, well-known, well-liked to some degree. Just not elected. Is that what you're telling me?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. 800-956-7266. He was the game MVP back in 1956. Take a shot at that. Correct answer will get you 2 tickets to the game coming up on Saturday afternoon. All right. Meantime, Clemson, all this talk about South Carolina, new coaching staff and everything happening with them. Clemson getting ready to go back to practice on Saturday to take on Oklahoma in the national semifinal. They're going to play in that 4 o'clock game on December 31st. And this is looking like it's going to be a shootout with 2 great offenses and terrific offensive personnel on both sides. Defenses which, look, we saw North Carolina put a fair number of points on Clemson's defense, and the Tigers have given up some points here and there. They haven't exactly been a shutdown defense. But then again, in this day and age, outside of Alabama, who does have a shutdown defense? And if it gets to a national championship game between Clemson and Alabama, that's going to be intriguing. Deshaun Watson against that defense, and does Clemson finally run into a defense that can slow it down?
It'll be interesting. I think the key, though, is what team gets its rhythm, because I still say that these offenses, if you keep them off the field, that's why I'm saying Clemson has a good running game. It'll be interesting to see if they notice what Oklahoma is doing. And let's face it, Clemson has had problems with quarterbacks that are elusive. And I got to tell you that Oklahoma's quarterback does remind me a lot of Connor Shaw. It really does. And so if I'm Clemson, I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to try to score, but then again, I'm going to try to keep their offense off the field too.
Yeah. Oklahoma's got to be going, okay, last year we lost 40-6. Wait, Deshaun Watson didn't play last year either, and we lost 40-6? That's tough.
But neither did Mayfield play.
That's true. And I don't think the revenge factor can be understated here, Corn, because of what happened in that game. I was there. It was 17-0 after the first quarter. It was 27-0 at the half. Oklahoma didn't score until the fourth quarter after it was already 40-0. Clemson boat raced them out of that stadium, and don't think for a second those guys forgot that.
Oklahoma, they have played some very good offenses this year. They limited Oklahoma State, if you want to call it that, to 23 points. TCU, they beat them 30-29. What I'm getting at here is if you survive some of these offenses that they've had to get past. Baylor scored 34. Texas Tech scored 27. Those are those games right there. Texas Tech, Baylor, TCU, Oklahoma State. Those are four of the top offensive units in the country that you'll run across. And they gave up some points, but their offense was also big in each of those games, except they scored 30 against TCU. So Oklahoma will be well schooled in facing a high-powered offense with a spread attack and a quarterback who can make things happen with his arm and his legs. Not so much at Mason Rudolph, I guess. I don't think he's that much of a runner, but the others all, I believe, have versatile quarterbacks. Then again, I mean, Clemson's offense has proven that when they need to go get points, they're able to do so. And you think you have Watson bottled up. This is what makes him so special. How many times has he converted third down situations by just getting enough on third down to get the Tigers a first down and maintain possession of the football? Right when you think you've got him pinned in back there, he uses his legs and he breaks away and makes something happen. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I haven't seen – have you seen an over-under on the game? I haven't didn't make notice of that. I got to believe it's going to be something in the mid-60s at the very least.
Well, I think the other key is the fact that what Clemson did against North Carolina is that I don't think they had but the one turnover. And that's the key to Clemson against a team like Oklahoma. You cannot give them extra possessions because you're just asking for it if you do that. And let's face it, if you're Oklahoma and you see the lack of rotations in that linebacking core, that's why I said the big key for Clemson is this time off for their defense to rest, because Oklahoma would try to run the football and make them stay on the field to see if they can wear out Clemson's defense. So it'll be interesting how it's played. And K-Mac, you were talking about the assistant coach of the year, and those guys are there.
Lincoln Riley, 32-year-old Lincoln Riley has won the Broyles Award, and
over
Brent Venables was one of the finalists. And don't think that those two will be matching wits on New Year's Eve in South Florida.
Oklahoma averaging, going into this game, their offensive average is 545 yards. I'm sorry, 543 yards per game. I mean, we think Clemson's doing well at 510, and Oklahoma's averaging 532. And I don't think that they've played any weaker defenses across the board than Clemson has. You might even say Clemson, having played Florida State and Notre Dame in there, might have played a couple of teams with better defenses than what Oklahoma faced. The other thing that jumps out at me about Oklahoma, touchdowns in the red zone. They're really good. 68% of the time when they get to the red zone, they're getting 6. So they have got some very good numbers to back up their offense. And we talked about the quarterback and how good he's been. Baker Mayfield this year, about 69% completion percentage, 35 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, guys. He protects the football, 282 yards per game. Last year Clemson faced Trevor Knight, and they just took him out of the ball game. This is a whole different animal in Baker Mayfield, who's having a phenomenal year. But then again, when Oklahoma came to play the Tigers last year, Trevor Knight had posted some pretty impressive numbers.
But they will tell you that, the boy wonder is now the offensive coordinator. So they're going to do some different wrinkles with Oklahoma. And let's face it, Oklahoma is not going to turn the football over as much as they did in that game last year. So I agree with you. It's going to be toe-to-toe, and it may just come down to what team has the football last.
J.C. Sherbert in breaking news.
Breaking.
Ellis Johnson has been hired by Will Muschamp to join the staff at South Carolina.
As what position?
How did Ellis break it to the Big Spur, not us? Does that mean he's not going to do our the coordinator segment anymore?
He's kissing us off, I guess.
Gosh.
Hey, you want more from your education? Now, Palmetto College offers the quality of a 4-year education online. And to find out more, visit palmettocollege.sc.edu. With Palmetto College, your future has no limits. The question out there to win the tickets to the North-South game on Saturday, a pair of tickets for you that we will leave at the will call window, is what famous state politician, I'm told never won an election, according to our historian professor, but he's famous nonetheless for attempting, was the game MVP in 1956. I'll give you another hint. I said he's from the Low Country. He played at Bishop England High School, the old Bishop England High School back in the day. Think hard. 800-956-7266 as we go back to the phones to talk to Jake in Knoxville. Hello, Jake. Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hey, how y'all doing today? I listen to y'all every night as I truck along the Tennessee hills up here. I'm a big Tire fan. I heard you talking about the Clemson-Oklahoma game. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Oklahoma didn't face any starting quarterback out of those big high-power offenses they played against. I'll take the answer off the air.
You mean all those teams that I mentioned that they never faced the starting quarterback? You're talking about like Texas Tech, and you're talking like Baylor. I know Baylor's quarterback was down.
And TCU, I think, also.
Well, you got to remember that early on, Clemson didn't play some starting quarterbacks too.
Yeah, I think.
I understand that.
I would guess in Baylor, they did face the number 2 quarterback, Stidham, who's a very good quarterback before he got hurt. TCU lost their quarterback, I think, earlier in the year. And Oklahoma State, didn't Rudolph play against them?
I don't think Rudolph played either.
I think Rudolph played some series, but for whatever reason, he was rotated in that game because I remember him playing 2 quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, so what you're saying is you're questioning the quality of their defense?
Well, I'm not questioning, but I'm just saying they didn't face the starting quarterback due to injury or whatever reason. Oklahoma State didn't play Rudolph out there. Mm-hmm. I think they're faster than they were last year, but at the same time, I would say the offense wasn't at 100% when they faced them.
Well, I look at Clemson, and I'm not going to question Clemson. I think Clemson's defense can match up with anybody. I don't know that Oklahoma will present Clemson with any greater offensive challenge than what the Tigers just faced in North Carolina. When you look at the individual with the running back and the quarterback and as the receivers at North Carolina can throw at you. The Tigers gave up some points, 37 points, but in terms of yardage and things of that nature, North Carolina, 382 yards, which in this day and age is not a great amount. Thanks for the call. Back in a moment. Congratulations to Greg Bullock. He got the trivia question correct. Finally, we had a correct answer. 1956 game MVP of the North-South game in South Carolina was one Pug Ravenel. Pug Ravenel. 1956 out of Bishop England High School. I bet you our next guests would have known the answer to that question as we bring you our high school football report, a service of Farm Bureau Insurance. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau, you could be saving a whole lot of money, even if you've received a quote before. Rates are now more competitive than ever. Get a free quote today from your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes. We welcome in the two head coaches who are getting ready for the 4A Division I state championship game on Saturday in Columbia. Coach Steve LaPrade from Fort Dorchester, and from Dorman, Coach David Gutshaw. First of all, Coach LaPrade, how are you?
I'm good. I did that Pug Ravenel.
You would have known that?
I wouldn't have known the answer, but I think I've met him before.
I gave the ultimate hint. It has the same name as a dog.
Yeah, that would have worked. That would have worked. Coach,
I'm not calling him a dog. Somebody's going to hear that and be like, hey, but somebody came out called Pug Ravenel a dog.
Coach Gutshaw, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. And I have no idea that answer.
Good to have you two guys with us. Good to have you with us, and congratulations on your seasons. And Coach LaPrade, you've been right at the very top all season long, ranked number 1, number 2, depending on who you go by, and you've made it undefeated to this point. What kind of season has this been for you and your guys?
Well, as a coach, it doesn't get any better than that. We've obviously had a good year. I got a bunch of good ball players down here and really good kids. It's just been it's been one of those years. I've been in this not quite as long as David has, but been in this mess will be almost 40 years this year, and this is as good a bunch of young men that I've ever been around. So it's been a blast.
Following your team, of course, we know a lot about your big offensive lineman, John Simpson, and the job he's done for you. And we hear a lot of great things about the young quarterback that you have as well. How much of the offense do you put on his shoulders?
He can handle all you give him. He's just, he's just a different breed. When he was young, as a 7th grader, we just saw a little something special in him, and he's just grown. He's a hard worker. He's a student of the game. He's a humble kid, just an outstanding athlete. He throws well, runs well, just ice water through his veins. He never gets upset. He forgets the bad stuff quick. So it's just been, he's just a great young man, great kid off the field, and he's a blast to coach. He really makes me look like a good coach sometimes. Yep.
Great players will do that. And Coach Gutshaw, you've had your share of great players. You've got yourself a terrific quarterback and passing game. And what about your run through these playoffs and getting to the state championship game? Did you think going into postseason you'd have a chance to make it all the way?
Well, yeah, we really did. It's one of those things that we felt like we could play with anybody, but we're excited about being here. But and the good thing about it, 2 of the teams that beat us in regular season, we was able to get rematches with them.
And how did you turn them?
Well, I think the big thing was we was able to develop a running game. Early in the year, we struggled quite a bit trying to run the ball, and Shenard Bain, our running back, became better and better. Our offensive line got better. And when we could take some of the pressure off Colin Hill, we became a better offensive football team.
The win last week over Burns, 21-14, to get to the championship game. I mean, that's such an intense rivalry between you two, but taking them out in the semifinals, what did that mean to your guys, and how did you manage to get past them last week?
Well, in the first half, they sort of dominated the football game. We had a couple of scoring opportunities we let get away from us, but they're an outstanding defensive football team. But in the second half, we was able, again, to establish the run, and
Tyler Neal made some great throws, and our kids just responded. I thought our defense played well in the second half.
Coach LaPrade, you guys had what a game you had last week with Goose Creek, and that thing could have gone either way. You guys survived it. Winning a game the way you did, how do you think that will help you guys getting to the championship game as far as the way you were able to win last week?
Well, yeah, we always play physical football, and Goose Creek is this physical team, just like Coach Gutschall said, they've really improved over the year. Goose Creek has come just light years this year. What they do, they're very physical, very huge, just power team, and they just wear you down. I mean, they are just like bowling balls. I'm very, very glad I don't have to play them again. I can tell you that much. I'm glad we got through that one, and I don't have to see them till next year. They're not a team you want to line up and play against. Yeah. They're a tough team.
Coach Gutschall, what do you think of Fort D in your preparation? What's your overall take on the Patriots?
Well, obviously an outstanding football team. You don't become 14-0 without being really good. The big thing is they score so many points. It puts a lot of pressure on our offense to score because we know they're going to score. Quarterback, running back, outstanding wideout, big offensive line. I don't know that you could get any better than that. And they're just gritty. And it's going to be tough. But, I was kidding the kids. I said it's hard to get in the state championship game and not play somebody real good.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of the quarterback, Joyner?
Oh, he's an outstanding football player. He makes everything go. And I made the comment at the press conference. I don't know that you can be in this game if you're not good at the quarterback position. And obviously, they're very good at the quarterback position.
And Coach LaPrade, in your film study on the Cavaliers and what Coach Gutschall and those guys will do, what's your impression?
Well, I feel both teams are really similar. I think they got an outstanding offense. Also, the quarterback obviously is just he manages the game, throws the ball well. They got great wide receivers, big wide receivers. The running back is a playmaker in space. He's a mess. He's a little guy, but he can fly. They're solid on defense. They're just, I've been telling people they're just a solid, well-coached football team. They do things the right way, and I totally agree. When you get to the state championship, it's going to be you're going to have a tough opponent, and we got as tough as opponent. Obviously, it's the best team we played this year, so we know we're definitely going to have to play our A game to even be in the ball game.
Well, guys, we congratulate the two of you on great seasons. It should be a championship game, well worth watching and attending. Hopefully a big crowd will turn out. The weather should be terrific for state championship Saturday in Columbia. We'll miss it because we'll be here at the North-South game. Sorry things had to conflict this year. But best of luck to you. We do thank both of you for joining us tonight. Coach LaPrade, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Coach Gutschall, same to you, sir. Good luck on Saturday.
I feel the same way. Thank you, Phil. And we look forward to it, and it should be a great game.
Thank you very much. And the game will kick off at noon on Saturday at Williams-Brice Stadium. It's not the weekend of champions this year. It's the day of champions because everything's been pushed back a week. And we've just got the 3 games coming up on Saturday, the 2 championships in 4A and the 2 championships in 3A. And we do thank the coaches for being with us. We're having to do the interviews over the phone because with the USC press conference yesterday, that precluded us from getting over to the high school press conferences. So tomorrow night, our plan is to have the coaches on from 4A Division II, and then on Thursday, the coaches from 3A, so we can give you some taste of what's ahead in the state championship games. That's going to be a heck of a game between Dorman and Fort Dorchester. We'll be back in a moment. Don't leave us here on Sports Talk.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
All right, continuing with Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. On this Tuesday night, presented by Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan. Future Scholar, the smart and easy way to save for loved ones' future college costs. And the holidays are a perfect time to invest. Visit futurescholar.com for more information. Future Scholar is administered by the Office of State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. All this football talk everywhere we turn. Football, football, football. It's made me hungry for two things: Bojangles and basketball. Which takes me to the Bojangles Bash, which is coming up this week at Ridgeview High School here in Columbia. And Athletic Director Brian Rosefield joining us here on Sports Talk. Good evening, Brian. How you doing?
Doing great, Phil. How are you?
Hey, we're doing fine, doing fine. You're going to have the hoops and the chicken galore over at your place starting later on this week. And what a crowd of talented basketball teams you've got coming in this year.
Well, I tell you what, you're speaking my language talking about Bojangles, first of all, but you're right. Starting on Thursday, bringing in 16 teams for a high-level showcase Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for the Bojangles Bash. This is the third year we've been partnered with Bojangles, and honestly, I get chills listening to you talk about it, Phil. But we cannot wait to have all these teams on the campus of Ridgeview High School starting Thursday.
Well, you've got a mixture of in-state teams and some out-of-state teams as well, and you got some big-time talent in terms of the colleges participating. Seventh Woods from Hammond's going to be there. You've got Sadiq Keita from 22 Feet Academy headed to USC. He's going to be there, and, of course, many other outstanding players from local high schools. It's a great list of schools you've got coming in, some terrific games on the agenda.
Well, we appreciate it, Phil. And I was told I have an hour to go through all these players here, so I'm just kidding. No, I won't do that. But you're right. You named a couple of guys right there, and a couple of guys, too, that I talk about, too. Eli Wright, the kid going to Mississippi State. I'm telling you, he is worth the price of admission. He's 22 Feet will be taking on Keenan Thursday night, and that's that last game of the night. And I'll tell you what, I can't wait to see that one. But you mentioned some of the other great players that we have coming in, and we're very fortunate to have 13 teams from South Carolina and 3 coming from out of state. Miami Country Day making the long flight up. Zion Lutheran from out of Florida as well, and Trinity Christian from Fayetteville, North Carolina. So trying to bring that out-of-state flavor to go up against the best of South Carolina, and just like I said, just couldn't be more excited about it. Just 3 jam-packed days of 13 games. I'm not real sure what the athletic director at Ridgeview High School was thinking about putting together 13 games in 3 days. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know that.
Have you got enough room in the gym to handle everyone that'll be there, from the fans to the recruiters to the internet recruiting scouts and all those other folks who want to be on hand?
Well, I tell you, we're going to find out. And I did ask that question. I did find out we got 1,500 seats in our gym. That's all right on the button. So we're going to put it right up to capacity. And but you're right. We are honestly, we've been pre-selling tickets. The pre-sales have been huge. And I mean, honestly, that last game on Saturday night, the AC Floor and Hammond game, I'm telling you, I've actually been on the campus of AC Floor and Hammond the last couple of days selling tickets, and their students and their faculty and their parents are super excited to see those two teams go at it Saturday night. And I'm telling you, we are encouraging folks to get their tickets early and get there early as well on Saturday, and honestly all 3 nights as well, because it's the matchups are great all across the board. They really are.
Yeah, that'd be very wise. Also, let's remember that you're doing this for a very good cause. This benefits Homeworks of America. What is that?
Homeworks of America is an organization started by Hank Chardos, and I'm telling you, he is the salt of the earth. It is an organization that most people are familiar with, Habitat for Humanity. It goes in and builds homes, but Homeworks goes in and repairs homes for the elderly and less fortunate. They've also had a huge flood response, within the last couple of months here. But Jim Powell is heading up that organization now. Just a group of just great people that really have a heart for people in this area and around the world, really, and around America, obviously, too. They'll travel to Peru and fix homes, and, part of our proceeds go to help that and honestly bring awareness to what they're doing. Homeworks of America is great. And honestly, I mean, you talk about Bojangles and their great food, but they are great people as well. And being able to partner with Homeworks and Bojangles and Ridgeview is just it's a match made in heaven. It really is.
I'll tell you what, to celebrate what's upcoming, when I leave the broadcast center tonight, I'm going to go have me a 3-piece with a large sweet tea.
That sounds like a great plan. And I just pulled up to Irmo High School to watch our Ridgeview boys play over here, and I feel I might join you on the way home, stop by Bojangles, and see if I can get me a nice little nightcap as well.
There you go, sir. Hey, Brian, thank you so much. Thanks for being with us. I know it's going to be a showcase event over at Ridgeview. We thank you for joining us tonight. It begins on Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Ridgeview High School, Columbia, a hot spot for holiday basketball tournaments, and this is the one that gets it rolling, the Bojangles Bash. Thanks again to Brian Rosefield for being with us tonight here on Sports Talk to talk about the Bojangles Bash coming up later on this week. All right, moving ahead to tomorrow, more coverage from here in Myrtle Beach. We'll talk with the North coach tomorrow night here on the program, Coach Ken Schofield, get his take on his team, and we'll also talk to some players, start talking to some players and bring that to you as well on the program tomorrow night. The latest from the recruiting trail as well for you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk. And we'll preview 4A Division II state championship game, Lexington and Northwestern. Looking forward to bringing that to you tomorrow night too. Oh, also tomorrow night. Oh, yeah. 6:30 tomorrow night. Make a big old note about this. Dan Radakovich, Clemson Athletic Director, will be our guest on Sports Talk. We'll talk with him about his 13-0 football team. And we'll talk with him about having completed his 2-year stint on the college football playoff committee. I guess now we're going to see people rotating off, right? These are 2-year runs. We'll see people rotating off, and I guess a new crew will be on for next year.
So it'll be an entirely new crew, right? If they're all on 2-year deals?
Well, now you've had wasn't somebody added this year, but Archie Manning came off. They had to replace him.
Yeah, so Johnson replaced him.
Yeah, Johnson, yeah.
That's right. So he'll be back.
But they didn't replace Pat Hayden, though, did they?
I don't think anybody replaced Pat Hayden.
No.
He removed himself for health reasons.
Yeah, so I am assuming we'll have new people on there, new blood.
He got a pretty good run. I mean, last year there was some controversy, of course, with Ohio State getting in, and Baylor. Was Baylor the team that got shafted last year? TCU, one of those Big 12 teams, got shafted. But this year,
whoever won the game last year between them. Yeah.
It worked out perfectly for them.
Yeah,
so there isn't a bunch. They're not going to be getting a ton of emails. And Ohio State people are griping because they have one loss, whatever. There wasn't any major case that you could make where you say this is a travesty. This team should have been in, and they didn't get in. Didn't happen.
The coaches all-SEC team out today, and the Gamecocks, they had two on the first team, but it's the same guy. Pharaoh at wide receiver and Pharaoh Cooper at all-purpose. Same person, two positions. He's the only Gamecock on the first team offense, and on the second team defense, Sky Moore. The quarterback is Dak Prescott, first team all-SEC quarterback. Derrick Henry, Leonard Fournette in the backfield. Also, USA Today All-American team came out today. Deshaun Watson is your first-team quarterback, joined in the backfield by Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey. That could be the order of the voting for the Heisman. Watson, Henry, McCaffrey. Shaq Lawson was named on the defense, too. That's the USA Today All-American team. Any final thoughts from the studio, guys?
Georgia leading Winthrop 33-25 at the half. Furman leading Liberty 33-27 at the half. And I think there's one other score, Citadel beating Voorhees 81-73.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks to everyone across the state tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.